From a passion for movement to a mission of holistic well-being, meet Kimberly Spreen Glick, the powerhouse behind the Inspired Life University and my co-host here on Group X Appeal. Discover her journey through fitness, the moments that ignited her passion, and why she's still rocking the stage after 25 years. Tune in to get inspired by Kimberly right now.
Hey there, welcome to Group X Appeal. I'm Kimberly Spreen Glick.
And I'm Terry Shorter. We're excited to bring you this hot and sweaty podcast.
With over 25 years of experience each in the health and fitness industry, we're here to share hilarious, heartwarming stories from our lives and careers.
And offer practical nutrition tips, expert exercise advice, and strategies for holistic well-being and a positive mindset.
Group X Appeal is your go-to source for inspiration, motivation, and a few laughs along the way.
So tune in and let us help you be the healthiest, happiest version of you. So Kimberly Spreen Glick.
Hey, Terry Shorter.
So how did you get into the fitness industry?
Oh boy, what a story. So in my younger years, actually starting as a child, I was bullied quite a bit as a young girl. I was a bit overweight, had quite a belly, which is kind of, my brothers and I all kind of had this body shape, but I was picked on quite a bit. And then at age 10, I started developing. I got my monthly
paycheck?
Yeah, exactly. Got my monthly period. And so I started developing. I started getting boobs and hips. And so that made me more of a target. And I just felt kind of out of control. Started having challenges at home with my dad as far as he was pretty tough on us. And so I think in my desire to have some control over my life, I turned to eating disorders. And so for many years, I had a pretty distorted view of my body and me as a person, thinking I wasn't super smart, and a distorted relationship with food. And so I first, when I was 10 years old, I stopped eating meals and you know, initially lost a bunch of weight, and people were complimenting me for losing weight. So of course that kept me going.
Right.
Went on into my teen years. My mother started getting very concerned. A gym teacher at school saw that I was skipping meals, brought her into it. And so then I realized it was easier to be bulimic than anorexic, because then you can actually eat meals in front of people. Then you just have to sneak away and purge. And so that was several years as well. And I kind of bounced back and forth between anorexia and bulimia. And when I was 18, as soon as I graduated high school, my parents had moved from Maryland, the DC area where I had grown up. They moved to Ohio. And I stayed behind because, of course, at 18, your friends are much more important than your
than
parents,
your family,
right? Yeah. So they moved away. I stayed behind and started working right out of high school at the Citizens Bank of Maryland. And I was a customer service rep. So I was in like a cubicle. And this was back in the day when you had to call to find out your balance or to see if a check cleared. And so I was one of the people that answered the phone.
Oh, wow.
I'd give you your balance, let you know if a check cleared, et cetera. And a woman sat next to me, a lovely woman named Edna. And as my mom would say, at that time in my life, I was kind of a skeleton with a head, and saw that and became very concerned. She kind of became a surrogate mother for me during that time. What just so happened, her daughter taught jazzercise.
Oh, wow.
And so she started inviting me to take her daughter's jazzercise class, which at first I was like, oh, no. I don't, not a shot. Not this Palm Squad girl. And so she continued to ask out of her concern for my well-being. And because I'm a people pleaser, I finally said, you know, Edna, yes, I will go, but just once.
Right.
And so she arranged for it for me to go take this jazzercise class in a local town where I lived, Laurel. And it was love at first grapevine, Terry.
Wow.
But here's the really wild thing. As an hour-long class, I lasted 19 minutes, which I will always remember because it was 1 minute longer than how old I was.
Oh, wow. Never forget that.
Never forget it. And yet I couldn't leave. I could not leave the room. And we were in this big kind of armory, like a gymnasium. I went and sat against the wall with my joints hurting, my bones hurting, like everything, my lungs burning, like everything just hurt from head to toe. But my jaw was on the floor watching the excitement and the enthusiasm and the energy being passed, and the instructor throwing energy out to the community and the community giving it back, and the camaraderie. It was just so amazing. I decided I've got to try to do this. Well, I couldn't afford to take the classes. So Edna worked it out with her daughter for me to be the girl. I remember this. This was back when you had a punch card to take classes. Well, I became the girl at the door that punched people's cards as they came in so that I could take the class for free. So I started taking class. I could get through more and more and more. I started memorizing the routines. And a few months in, I could last the whole hour.
What?
I knew the routines. And I decided.
And what about the outfits? Did you have the outfits yet?
We don't talk about that, Terry. We don't. We don't talk about that. Nope.
Not yet.
Nope. Yeah. Maybe another time. But I just had decided, I thought I was going to be in the banking industry forever and kind of work my way up, wear a suit.
Right.
I thought I was going to wear a suit.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's the opposite antithesis of.
Right? Who would have thunk it? But I finally got the nerve to go up to the jazzercise instructor, because back then you kind of needed to come in underneath someone else's guidance and mentorship, and asked her to mentor me. I said, this has changed my life, perhaps even saved my life. And it was still a rocky road for several years after that. But this was like the beginning of my healing, physically anyway, because I realized this newfound thing that I want to do so much, I have to eat.
Yeah.
I have to fuel my body
Energy.
to be able to do it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I wanted to pay it forward. I'm like, this has changed my life, perhaps saved my life. I want to be able to do it for other people. So I went up to her and I asked her to take me under her wing to become an instructor so that I could help others the way she helped me.
And she was excited to help you, and she just could not wait to mentor you step by step.
Yeah, funny story. No. No, as a matter of fact, I will never forget. She looked me in the eye. She put her hand on my arm and she's like, "Oh, Kimberly, you're so sweet, but I can't mentor you to become an instructor because I don't think you have what it takes."
Oh.
So she didn't want to put her name on me because she didn't think I could be a good instructor.
Wow.
So I never went back to that class again. About a couple weeks later, I was in a pretty bad car accident. Like rhomboids torn. Had to kind of re-educate the back muscles to get mobile again. I was going to physical therapy 4 times a week. One of the best things that ever happened to me, because I had just moved to a new apartment. I had myself and a roommate. I didn't have a bed yet. I was sleeping on the couch. We had no TV. We had no phone.
Wow.
So at that young age, I discovered meditation. I just didn't know it was meditation.
Right.
Because my roommate worked full time. I was just home alone until a friend would come take me to physical therapy. I was just alone with me,
Quiet
myself,
time.
and I.
Yep.
Yeah. So I ended
No
up starting
iPods
this,
or anything like that.
No iPods. And this inward journey started to happen. And I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? When I get on my feet, I'm going to get into the fitness industry so I can help people. I'll never teach Group X.
Right.
But I'll be a personal trainer. I'll help some way, some form to be able to help people be healthier.
So you kind of bought into that instructor's story or how she felt.
100%.
Yeah.
So when I got on my feet, I quit the bank and I got a job at the local Bally Total Fitness.
Yeah.
And I got a job swiping cards at the front desk. And while I earned my personal training certification.
Good for you.
As soon as I earned it, I started doing fitness orientation, started training clients. But guess what I still did twice a day?
What did you do twice a day?
I took aerobics.
I love it.
Because that back then, of course, they were called aerobics. Don't judge me. And so I would, before and after my shift, I'd jump into the classes. And a few months into my time at Bally's, it was a Friday night. I got a phone call from the aerobics coordinator. Her name was Lori. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, Kimberly, can you jump in and teach the high-low class tomorrow?"
Can I?
For those of you that don't know what high-low is, should we just have them Google it? I don't know.
Might have to Google it. No, you have to describe it.
High and low impact. So this was back when we did lots of grapevining and chassing and mamboing and high knees and heel curls and all that fun stuff. So she asked me to teach it, and I immediately said no. And she's like, "You're not going to class tomorrow?" I'm like, "Oh, of course I'm going to class tomorrow. I just can't teach it." And she's like, "Well, you're a personal trainer. Just put in the cassette tape."
The cassette tape. We just lost a whole generation.
Wait, don't click off. There's more. She's like, "Just put in the cassette tape and do things you've seen Jackie do. It'll be great."
Right.
And I'm like, "Lori, I would love to help you. Trust me. I'm a people pleaser. I'd love to help you out, but I don't have what it takes to be a group instructor." And as soon as I said those words,
that was a recording you took in.
Exactly. Like, I realized in that moment, I'm like, holy crap, those are not my words.
Right.
Those were
Her
Brenda's
words.
words.
Right.
And for some reason, maybe it's because all that time I had to myself in my healing from the accident, but something in me, my intuitive sense, I just knew I have a choice to make right now. I can either take a leap of faith on myself, or I can let her words become my reality.
Yeah. It's a choice.
And so I said, you know what, Lori, I will do it tomorrow, but don't ever ask me to do it again. So for the Group X instructors who are listening to this, has anyone ever started teaching Group X by being thrown in, like as if you're being thrown into sharks, like a Shark Tank? Let us know in the comments. It's fascinating way to begin. But so I showed up the next morning, 45 minutes early, because that's what you do when you're scared shitless. And I accidentally grabbed a step cassette tape.
A little
for
faster.
The high-low class. So we were grapevine. So just so you know, for those of you listening, if you're not familiar, high-low was typically taught at about 156 to 160 beats per minute. Step was taught at about 126 beats per minute. So I put the cassette in and we started step touching really slow. So luckily I caught my error quickly. And there's like 60 people in the room.
Well, it's good that you caught it.
Right?
Right.
Can you imagine the whole hour of step?
Just eyes piercing.
I don't think anyone would have been in the room by the end. And we started with over 60 people. So long story short, I made it through that class. And a few months later, that became my class.
Nice.
I got more classes. I started teaching. Before I knew it, I was doing 20 classes a week at multiple facilities across the DC metropolitan area, in corporate, in commercial health clubs, in community centers. It was just like, it's the love of my life. And then from there, things worked out okay.
Like really okay.
So that's how I got into it.
I love that story.
I was the least obvious person
Well,
to join the health and fitness industry because I was not healthy and I was not fit.
Isn't that funny how it works, how things work out?
You did it.
That's amazing. So this is definitely your calling. I just love the fact that you, first of all, jumped in your very first aerobics class and made it through 19 minutes. Congratulations. Hey. So that's fantastic, first out. But I think to overcome someone's belief or lack thereof, right? First started with someone who didn't believe in you and didn't think it was possible. And I can't even imagine what it felt like to hear those words come from somebody that you probably looked up to in a huge way.
Definitely.
Right? But to be able to take that and turn that around and use that as fuel for your fire because someone else did believe in you more than you believed in yourself.
I don't know if she believed in me as much as she was desperate because it was a last minute sub request. And she was just like, let me just get a warm body in there.
No,
and
she
hope for the
believed in you.
best.
She believed in you. She saw you in your classes doing 2 aerobics classes a day.
She did
She
know I
knew
took a
something.
lot.
Exactly. So there was some faith there.
But I like what you shared there about the fact that I had that experience where I was really passionate about something. Well, I've been passionate about someone else too, but I was really passionate about something and someone didn't believe in me. I think that might be one of my driving forces for helping other leaders,
Yeah. And believing
find
in
their own
them
success. Yeah.
more than they believe in themselves.
Right.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
And so, what a great origin story. That's like Wolverine, Deadpool, like
Whoa.
cat, like, yeah.
I wish.
That's that same caliber.
One can hope.
So, yeah, I'm a huge Marvel fan. So, hence the Rip Planet shirt that looks like a Marvel shirt.
Oh my gosh.
You didn't even notice that? What?
He's got the ripplanet.com. I got the good vibes only, baby.
Love
so if
it.
you're on YouTube, you know exactly
Yeah,
what
we're
we're
all
talking about.
we're all glittered out.
We're shining.
Shining, baby, shining.
No one's going to dull our shine today.
Never ever. And what was her name? Brenda? Was the
Well, Edna is the
Edna.
one that cared enough to.
right, but who was the one who didn't believe in you?
That would be Brenda.
Brenda. Yeah, so she can't dull your shine.
Nope.
You're still shining, girl.
And then Lori gave me a shot.
That's awesome. See
Lori
all these
was
characters.
desperate and
These
gave me a shot.
she wasn't desperate. She was in need. She was in great need.
Yes. for
That's
sure.
pretty close to
And in future
desperate,
years,
but
I
it's
became a group fitness manager and completely understood her plight.
right.
We've been there.
And so, yeah, like I said, what a great origin story. And so why do you still teach today? I mean, you mentioned, wanting to inspire people, but it goes probably deeper than that. I mean, to be in the industry for more than 2.5 decades.
Yeah. Yeah. I can honestly say I am more inspired to teach now than I ever have been, because with the more life we live, the more wisdom we gain, which
We hope.
means we hope, which means the more we have to share.
Right.
And so I feel like the more years that pass, the more I've learned through, good times and bad, through, knocking it out of the park and through messing up royally.
Yeah.
I've gained more knowledge, more tools, more wisdom. I have more to offer, more to share. And so I'm more excited than ever to show up for people and try to make a positive impact on their lives. And for me, because, as you put in, my origin story is stemmed from a place of low self-esteem, poor body image and low self-esteem, I am incredibly passionate about helping all people recognize the value of who they are, to recognize their worthiness, to the point that the first course I ever created inside the Inspired Life University was called 3 Steps to Unshakable Self-Worth. Because that is like the core of my messaging, that the tagline for my platform is know yourself, love yourself, be yourself. Because I feel like if more people on the planet would stop for a moment,
yeah,
and get to know who they are in 2 ways. One, recognize that, we are part of something greater, and it is that greater power that connects us all. Like, we're all in this together, but also get to know, like, what really sparks joy in my heart. Like,
Right.
how often do we really stop and ask that question? So get to know who we are, and then choose, because it is a choice, choose to love who we are.
Right.
And then the third step becomes like the biggest no-brainer ever, because if I know who I am, and then I choose to love who I am, then of course I'm going to be who I am. I mean,
Who
why
you're meant
wouldn't
to
I?
be, right?
Yeah, why wouldn't I? So I think if more people would tap into who they are on a regular basis, love themselves, because we are all lovable and worthy, not because we've accomplished anything or done anything or showed up in a certain way or what we have or what we've gained, but just because we're here.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you're here, you've been born into this life, like, you are worthy. And the more people that would connect to that worthiness, choose to love themselves, and then choose to just authentically be who they are, the world would be a different place.
For sure. Love it. Amen. Let me ask you this for the listener, to be able to tap into, knowing who you are, because everyone's on a schedule. Everyone's got places to be, things to do, right? People to see.
Except now they're just here with us.
Right. Exactly. Which we appreciate.
This is their place to be.
Right. And for that person, how much time does it take in order to, on a regular basis, on a consistent basis, would you say, to get started on that path towards self-discovery?
Oh, goodness. Whatever time you have. Because if even a minute a day you turn inward and you close your eyes and you take some deep breaths and you just start to live in the silence for a bit. And that doesn't mean the thoughts won't come. It's just, instead of having the thoughts drive you, this as well as I do, we spend the vast majority of our life on autopilot. We're just kind of going through the motions. And that's not a bad thing, because it's actually a survival mechanism.
Sure.
Our brains are not designed to help us thrive. Our brains are not designed to help us be happy in life.
Just to
Our
get by.
brains are designed to survive.
Yeah.
And one of the survival mechanisms is, as much we can in our lives create patterns where we can be on autopilot. It conserves energy in the brain. And so we tend to be on autopilot. But in order to take that inward journey, it requires shifting from autopilot to manual mode.
Yeah, mindfulness.
And so for me, it starts with that mindfulness. I call it a presence practice. For some, it's meditation. For some, it's just breath practice. For some, it's listening to a piece of music or binaural beats or something like that. But being able to really show up for yourself in the moment and just be without any expectations.
Yeah.
It starts there, and that can be a minute a day, and then go from there.
Sure. Yeah. For me, it's a walk. I just call it my meditation walk.
Yeah.
30 minutes. And that's my opportunity to get centered, to get to know myself.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Really check in with myself.
Yep.
So love that. Love that. Love that. And let me ask you this. Why did you expand from the physical, from the fitness, physical part to the holistic side of wellness?
Yeah, this is a really, really cool story too. So I had, so fast forward from the origin story where I was told I would never be able to teach group fitness. I, of course, taught a lot of group fitness. I got into management, actually ran a corporate group fitness center back in Maryland before I moved to Ohio when I was 25. And in 1999, I started with a company called Lifetime, who I'm still with today, who we both teach for. And do you know this November, as we're recording it right now, this November in 2024 will be my 25-year anniversary.
What?
Just
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow.
Crazy.
Quarter century.
I know.
I knew.
In 2006, I stepped into a role, the director of group fitness. So I was a national director for Lifetime. And so at one point, I was supporting over 100 managers, over 3,000 instructors across North America.
Amazing.
And so I was really 24/7. You know, I was in health and fitness. I was out there. I was watching these amazing people kind of do the great work of their heart. And I don't know about you, but for me, when I first started as a trainer, the first thing I learned was the triad of fitness. And the triad of fitness, of course, is exercise, nutrition, and sleep or rest.
Rest. Yep.
And as long as you are firing on those three cylinders, you're going to
good to
live your
go.
healthiest, happiest life. Like you're good to go. Exactly. So the more I traveled around, and back about this time, my presenting geared up quite a bit too. I started doing that in about 2002, and so I was, going around to different conferences. I'm traveling around through Lifetime, seeing all these managers and instructors doing this amazing work. And yet I'm meeting so many people who are firing on those three cylinders.
And
They're
still
moving
lacking.
regularly. They're getting rest. They're eating well. They're fueling their bodies. And they weren't happy.
Right.
And so it really had me start to challenge myself with the question, what else is there to this life experience? And so at about that time, this was in 2006, I went to Chicago to a conference called Celebrate Your Life. This was the first time I had ever been to a conference outside of, fitness, yoga,
Right.
our, world. And it was all about personal development, personal growth. And it highlighted these amazing authors, people like Carolyn Mace and Marianne Williamson. Wayne Dyer was there, who became my favorite teacher of all time. Don Miguel Ruiz, remember the Four Agreements?
Yeah, absolutely.
So he was there with his son, like all these great teachers.
It's
And
like
I
a
went to this
mecca.
one. It was a mecca. It was one of the best experiences ever. And it was the game changer for me because I went to a session with Ayanna Van Sant. Do you remember her?
No, I do not.
Ayanna was Oprah's spiritual advisor.
Oh,
for a
yes.
while.
Okay.
So there was a time that Oprah had like a Dr. Phil day
Right.
and a Dr. Oz day, and she had an Ayanna day.
Okay.
And then they had a little bit of a falling out, and then they worked it out, and it's all good now. So anyway, she was on stage, and she was speaking about how we're here to be of service.
Right.
And I was in this new role as a director. I'm like, yes, this is what I need to hear. I need to validate my belief that I'm here to serve. I wanted to be a servant leader. I never wanted to be the kind of leader that just created followers. I wanted to be the kind of leader that created more leaders and
Right.
lifted people up. So I knew I wanted to be a servant leader, and she was speaking to that. She said, every day we get up, we should look around and say, how may I be of service? And so I'm giving her all these like mental and emotional high fives. It was awesome. She got about halfway through her hour, and she paused. And she says, so I really mean all of this I'm sharing with you, but don't get me wrong. And there was this like dead silence. Like you could have heard a pin drop. And I'm like on the edge of my seat. I'm like, well, you just said everything. What are you
Right.
talking about? Like she just validated my core beliefs that like, it's okay that I'm not healthy all the time, that
Right.
I travel and hit a wall. I mean, that's people pleasers usually. It's go, drop.
Until you can't go anymore.
Give, drop. And so I was hitting walls, and I get sick and then get back to work and all this stuff. But she was validating that like, that's okay, because that's how you're supposed to live. But then after the silence,
Body slam.
she said something that
It's coming.
okay, I don't have any tattoos, but at one point I really thought about getting this tattooed on my body somewhere, but then I got scared, and so I just typed it up, printed out, and put it on my wall.
All right, that's
And
enough.
I promised myself that I would share it with people as often as I could.
Sure.
So here was the full thing. But don't get me wrong. may my cup runneth over, so that I may give freely and be in service of others. But what's in the cup is mine, and don't you touch it.
That's brilliant.
And those words have stayed with me for now, 18 years? And that really, I mean, that whole conference as a whole, the feeling that there has to be more than just the three, the triad,
Right.
then opening myself up to go to this conference outside of our industry, and then that talk where it's like, it's okay to take care of yourself. Not only is it okay to take care of yourself,
necessary.
it is absolutely
Imperative,
necessary. Like
yeah.
she went on to say, like, if you want to be someone who is a proponent for others in this world, you must first be a proponent for yourself. And we've all heard the airplane
Oxygen,
you gotta
yeah.
put the
Oxygen mask.
on you first
Yeah.
and everything. So like we anecdotally we get it.
Right.
But I tell you what, I work with a lot of fitness and wellness pros, and when they come to me for coaching because they're burned out,
Yeah.
my first question is, what are you doing for your
yourself,
self-care
for
and personal
yourself.
growth?
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, it's little to nothing. And that's the problem.
It's a challenge.
So I tell people, if you're serious about wanting to make an impact in other people's lives, and this goes for parents wanting to make an impact and be supportive to their children,
Yeah.
or to
Business owners.
wanting to support
leaders.
their employees,
Yep.
anyone who wants to be nurturing and uplifting to other people, you have to do the inward journey. You have to practice self-care and do your own personal growth, because the filling of your cup, it increases your bandwidth,
Yeah.
so that you can give without getting fatigued and burned out. So that was it for me.
I love it. I love it. So that changed your life. That was one of the biggest turning
Life-changing.
points ever.
Huge.
Monumental.
8 was that 18 years ago? What the what?
Yeah. It was, yeah. It was in the
right.
2000s. That's good.
Yeah.
You made it. You
It was
crossed.
the 1900s.
It wasn't the 1900s anymore. But I love it. That is wonderful. What I would have paid to see the expression on your face when she dropped that bomb on you, because you thought you had it all
I
together.
had it all figured out, brother. I knew I was doing the right thing. I was just gonna suck it up for the
Right.
rest of my life, and I was gonna be tired but really helpful.
Right, really super helpful. Just bust it up.
Bust it up. Bust it up. An uplifter to everyone.
Right,
But
bust it up when I go home. No, I think a lot of people can relate to that. You know, we when we're service-minded or service-oriented people, we want to give, right, until there's nothing left, and
Can't do it.
you can't do it. It's not sustainable.
Nope.
It's not sustainable. So good for you for discovering that, and not just discovering it and hearing it and, you know, understanding, but practicing it and then teaching other people, you know, that it's an art form. That's an art form for sure.
Well, and it is a practice.
Yeah.
Like it is the art of life,
Yeah.
and it is a practice, which means it's something we can get better and better at.
Yeah. It's not going to happen overnight
And
for sure.
It makes a huge difference. It's my
Good.
greatest passion right now. If we were
Love
to
it.
talk about my favorite thing to teach, it's holistic well-being. It's
Awesome.
loving yourself, taking care of yourself, doing that personal growth journey.
Fantastic. I love it. And so I think that's a great segue. What does it mean to you to live your best life?
Well, to continually check in, to know who I am,
Yeah, because you're not going to stay the same every single day.
we evolve.
Right.
We
Daily.
change. And that question that I mentioned in the know yourself, like to ask yourself, like, what sparks joy in my heart, that can change
Yeah.
from one year to the next, from one day to the next.
For sure.
And so to regularly check in with myself, to have that quiet time, the me time, that is a non-negotiable for me, to
good.
have the me time, to continue to know who I am, and to honor that by loving who I am, and then authentically showing up to be who I am. But beyond that, to be of service. It is important to me to be of service, which is why it's so important to take care of myself. And it's really interesting because one of the number one reasons that can help us be successful at self-care is it's because you want to help other people.
Yeah.
And it's because I want to be helpful to other people, I make my self-care and my personal growth an absolute priority.
Right.
So for me, it looks like that. It looks like mindfulness. It looks like a daily presence practice.
And do you have that
morning.
scheduled too? I was just about to ask. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Every morning, every day. So, and I learned it from two different teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to a weekend intensive with Marianne Williamson in Los Angeles. And in the intensive, one of the things she said was it's important before you start your day to get centered.
Yeah.
And so the way she put it, I'll never forget these words. She said, before your feet hit the floor and the modernity of the world hits you.
Because it will.
Because it will. The text messages, the emails.
Absolutely. It always does.
The podcast. Take a moment. Get centered. Turn within. And make sure you're starting the day off with
On the
positivity.
right course. Yeah.
And she's like, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And so I started with 5 minutes. And it wasn't before my feet hit the floor because when I wake up I have to pee, but I just pee and climb back into bed.
That's not too much information at all.
Not at all. Is it ever with me?
Never, ever.
And I do. And now usually it's about 15 minutes or so. Beyond 20 sometimes can be a little crazy making if you got a busy schedule laid out, but that works for me and whatever works for you. But, and then I spent a weekend in Maui. This is the first time I ever went to Hawaii, was to spend a weekend with Wayne Dyer. And it was a weekend intensive. One of the most game-changing, oh my gosh, one of the best weekends of my life. And he shared the importance of an evening centered
Wind
time.
down. Yeah.
And the way he put it, interesting, he thought his belief was that when we went to sleep, that our souls basically left our body and went into soul land, where all the souls and spirits are. And so the way he worded it was, before you put your head on the pillow and drift off into soul land, make sure you're in a good place. Because you don't want to take negativity to soul land.
No baggage.
So, the whole, make sure you don't go to sleep angry. I mean, it really applied in his teaching. And so I just developed, again, that started with like 5-10 minutes. Now it's usually 20 or so. I take that time in the evening to wind down. And sometimes it's just breath practice. Sometimes it's gratitude. Sometimes it's guided meditation. Or
What about journaling?
Journaling, I absolutely journal. The thing is, I've started 17 different journals. And
I have the same problem.
what is that? I don't I have a journal issue.
Same.
But definitely some journaling. And in the evening, though, I tend to close my eyes and go inward. But lots of different ways you can do it. So I have a steady AM and PM, morning and evening, before I start the day and before I close my eyes to go to sleep. I do a presence practice. And if for some reason it needs to be 5 minutes, okay, it's 5 minutes.
Sure.
But if there's ever a time where it has to be skipped for some reason, I feel the difference.
Sure.
So I won't say I never miss a day, but I will say it is very rare for me to miss a day. And that has been hugely impactful in my life.
Love it. It makes a huge difference, especially, one thing I think when you start your day, you have the ability, the choice, like you said earlier, to set the tone of your day. Because what was the term that Marianne used? The modernity of the world. Right. Modernity of the world. It's absolutely true. And it just takes one little thing to cause you to go in a downward spiral. So if you're not centered in a place, from the get-go, things most likely are not going to be in your favor and go in your direction.
You can get knocked off your stool pretty quick.
Right. Absolutely. And at the end of the day, to add that, that's a bonus.
Oh,
so
good.
I love that.
Sandwich.
So love it. Yeah. Sandwich.
It's a I like a good sandwich. I like to be a good sandwich.
Oh, we're talking about food again. So here we go again. So now I got all these different sandwiches that I kind of visualize. I'm putting my finger out as if I'm swiping my phone across, and I get different visuals of food going from right to left.
Is that your evening
It's a
presence
thing.
practice?
It's my presence practice.
Yeah.
I am ooh, that looks good. Ooh, that must smell really good. So 5 to 10 years. Where do you see yourself being 5 to 10 years from now?
I want to still be making a positive impact in people's lives. I want to.
That's just in your DNA.
Yeah. Good Lord willing and the creek don't rise. I still want to be teaching. I want to be teaching, fitness and yoga classes, but I also want to be teaching about holistic well-being. But most importantly, I want to empower other leaders to, because I've done that for over 20 years of my career. not just teaching to the enthusiasts who come
Right.
to our classes and such, but teaching, like train the trainer, teaching other leaders, other fitness pros, other wellness leaders. I want to give them, the tools and the resources to be able to then go out and make an impact on other people's lives through
Right.
teaching holistic well-being. Definitely want to be doing that. And I want to still be hiking Black Star Canyon.
Right? That's the best goal ever. Love it. And for you, and you must have a lot of them. I mean, at this point, you must just have a plethora, just a treasure trove of experiences. But
CDs?
what is your CDs and cassette tapes?
Cassette tapes.
Do you have a bunch of CDs like I do and DVDs?
In
I used to
the
collect,
garage,
yeah,
in like a big
boxes.
box, possibly.
I'm talking boxes,
I will not confirm nor deny. And DVDs.
right? So, so let me ask you. I'm sure you've had so many great experiences just through this conversation alone. But
Clearly.
what is your most memorable experience teaching?
Oh, that's a good one. Most memorable?
Yeah.
All right. So for me, humor is everything. So most memorable, you may as well have just asked what's the funniest. So the funniest memory I have teaching.
Uh-oh. Get ready to cover your
I
ears.
will be clean.
Okay, for once.
Well, I mean, sort of.
Kind of.
So
We're going to get that parental advisory sticker put on.
I probably should. You know how YouTube says, is this video made for
Right.
kids?
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not.
So I was in England.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the UK teaching at a conference. And I was working for the company is Total Gym International, an amazing couple down in San Diego that created the Total Gym,
Mm-hmm.
Tom and Joy Campanaro. Well, they had launched a version of the home Total Gym. It really wasn't home. It was a physical therapy device. Then went into in-home, one of the longest running infomercials of all time. Thank
Yeah.
you, Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
But they had
Chuck.
developed what was called the Gravity Training System. And it was the commercial version of the Total Gym that health clubs were
Right.
purchasing. And it was really popular in Europe. So we would do these conferences and I was teaching fitness pros how to use the GTS. And so I was in this room in the UK of both men and women, personal trainers, Group X instructors, and I was taking them through. We had just dozens of these GTS machines, and they were all like partnered up and grouped up on the different machines. And I was taking them through a workout. And at one point, we're sitting at the top of the board, and I needed them to scoot to the bottom of the board. And for me, teaching in the United States of America, you try to find safe words for different
Right.
parts of the body, right?
Right.
And so you don't want to say butt.
Right.
We can't say ass, but and I've just never been a big fan of tush.
Right.
And so I invited them on the microphone with a couple hundred people in the room to slide their fanny down to the bottom of the board.
Right.
And the entire room erupted in laughter.
Hysterically.
I had no clue what was so funny. I thought something else had happened and I missed it because I was focused on teaching. And finally someone caught that I was just oblivious.
Right.
And they said, well,
You know what that means, right?
here in the UK, fanny means vagina.
Yeah.
So you just told a room full of
Men and women.
and men
Right.
to scoot their vagina down. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, like I was mortified. I had turned 10 shades of red. And I'm like, well, what should I say instead?
Right.
And they're like, just say bum.
Bum. Yeah.
Bum is-
Say the bum.
So to this day,
Use the word bum.
15 plus years later, I say bum in every class I teach.
I
In
love
yoga,
it.
if I need you to move your bum to the center of the mat, like it's bum.
Right.
That's your bum.
That's safe. There's your safe word.
That's what I said. Dude, I wasn't even going there. Yes,
But you
bum-
did. You
bum
went
is
there,
my
and there was
safe word.
you were at the point of no return.
You invited me. Okay?
So that's funny. I used to live in London for about a year, and as soon as you said that, I was like,
Oh, yeah. I know where this is going.
I know what you're talking about.
Oh,
Wow. So they'll never forget that training ever.
Likely not.
Right. Just like
I
you haven't
certainly
forgotten. I love it. Best total gym training ever.
I should have come up with something that was memorable because someone had a heartfelt thing to say, or I don't know.
That was heartfelt.
Yeah.
You pulled on some strings. Oh my goodness, in a whole different way.
It's been quite a journey.
I love it. What an amazing journey you've had. And is continuing to be
be
continued
continued.
for sure.
Yeah.
So that is Kimberly Spreen Glick. What an incredible story. So inspiring,
Oh, thank you.
inspiring and empowering. That too, just in terms of where you've come from, how you've grown, who you've, the lives that you've touched, the fannies that you've told
The
to move
panties
down the
that-
board.
yes. I'm glad you didn't see the panties I've touched. We can cut that out, right?
Too late. It's there. It's burnt in. Digital. It's digital burning. Oh my goodness.
Okay. But thank you.
So no, absolutely. The depth of your experience and the just the richness and what you've gotten out of this incredible industry that we call fitness, but it's so much. You've made it so much more than that. And the
It's
fact
the wellness industry.
it's wellness,
It really is.
absolutely. And the fact that you've turned what you thought was enough, the triad, into something that's a lot more. It's just a lot more.
Broad.
Not just broad, it's got depth.
Yeah.
It's got so much more depth, and the fact that you're able to pass this knowledge on to other people, self included, I'm so appreciative of it. And it's such an honor and a privilege to have the chance to hear your story, be close, close up and personal. I'm not pressing the flesh right now, but looking in your eyes, looking in your
press it, here
eye
you go.
sockets. There it is. But truly an honor and a privilege, and I appreciate you sharing. And as a listener, I hope you've enjoyed Kimberly Spreen Glick's story as well. And please let us know if you haven't already in the comments down below. Please continue to share this episode, share Kimberly's story with anybody that you think that it could inspire, or a life that you think that it could change or impact in any way, shape, or form. Please be sure to do that. And we're so thankful for you as well for listening today.
Definitely.
You came on a good day to listen to it. So that is it for today. I am Terry Shorter,
I'm Kimberly Spreen Glick.
and we encourage you as always to make it a great day. And why?
Because it's a great day to have.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Peace.